attending. Because he's hung up traveling, so we're all ready. So let's start the meeting, and let's go to the first item on the agenda. Hi. The first item on our agenda tonight is public hearing for 12 Benedict Road. So let's open the public hearing. We have 4 ZBA board members here tonight: Marianne Remy, Lara Bozzi, and John Martin, and myself, Eric Worth, the chair. So that makes a quorum. The first item on the agenda is the public hearing for 12 Benedict. I'll say first that the applicants have provided the certified mail receipts, and they've provided an affidavit about the posting of the sign. And I've checked those, and they're complete. So that and a public notice about this hearing was published in the newspaper of record last week. So this application is by definition a type 2 matter under SECRA, so no environmental review is required. So let's start by hearing from the applicants, Jeff Silverstein and Anna Silverlink, or did I get those backwards? Sorry. And their architectural designer, Lara Eldin. Would you like to speak first? The applicants to introduce everybody to your project.
Sure, yeah. Hi, I'm Anna, this is Jeff, and Lara, do you want to describe the project?
Sure. So basically, we're requesting a variance for Anna and Jeff's extension because it's an addition over the portion of the house that is currently running perpendicular to the street. And it is the way that it's set up in the design is such that it will, kind of be tucked away into their property and not have such a strong frontage on the street. And their needs, I'll let them speak to their needs and the reasons that they need to expand, but it's basically to sort of be able to accommodate their family members. And yeah, I think that's a good intro from my end. But if you have anything else you want to add, Anna and Jeff, and yeah, there is so the setback requirement, I'll just say quickly that because of the way that we needed to lay out the stairs in such a manner so that they wouldn't obstruct circulation on the ground floor, the length of that front area kind of extends a little bit. I think per the documents, just 3 feet past the setback line. So it's still very much set back from the street line, but it encroaches on the front yard setback line slightly. And by the percentages we calculated, it doesn't seem to be a substantial encroachment. But yeah, it was necessary to make the plan and the circulation work for the addition. So.
Thanks, Lara. Hello, everyone. Thanks for all your time tonight. So Lara pretty much summarized the request. It's a three-foot variance building towards the front of the house, towards the street. And the reason we're doing this is we're to add a second floor to the home. We're moving in my mother-in-law, Anna's mom, into the house. And in the current living conditions, I think somebody described it, we want to make it successful for everyone, because for us to all live on the same floor might not be create the best family environment. So with Barbie moving in, we will basically be able to move to the second floor, myself and Anna and the kids, and we'll give Barbie a majority of the first floor. She'll take our current bedroom and bathroom setup right now. And so that's the reason we're building up at this time, and kind of summarizes, what our family needs are. And the variances, I think Lara said it was 3 feet. And there's a couple of other homes on the block that have similar variances, whether it's a front porch or a new addition recently across the street that, we've noticed, and it doesn't affect the character of the block. So that's kind of, without getting into too much opinion, it's a good summary of where we're at.
Okay, just to be precise, I'm looking at the drawing that shows the proposed addition, and so we're dealing with the one variance, and that's encroachment on the front yard setback, and the distance involved varies because of the property line is curved here, so yep. The setback line is curved, and the encroachment is 3 feet 8 inches at a maximum on one side. On the other side, it's 2 feet 6 inches. And then in between those two extremes, it's less. The curve bends out toward the street, so the encroachment is less than 2 feet 6 inches at the shortest point.
Yep, thanks for clarifying that. Our cul-de-sac, our street, where we don't have a sidewalk there, our street actually curves in towards the house. So that's a great point, Eric. Thank you.
One of the key things that a ZBA looks at when considering a variance is whether the applicant has an alternative way of achieving the goal. I know, Lara, you touched on this, but can you expand a little bit on why the addition could not be extended to the side yard or to the back instead of to the front?
Or sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I mean, part of it has to, when you look at sort of setting up the design needs or the programmatic needs of the family from the interior, we had to accommodate bedrooms for the children and the parents, and bathroom, and a staircase, obviously, to get to that second floor. And looking at, we looked at, I think, 4 or 5 different iterations of the stair, and to get from the first floor to the second floor in a way that felt compact enough, extending, we needed to tuck the stair in. So if you conceive of the addition as a bar that is perpendicular over the existing ground floor, perpendicular to the street over the existing ground floor, that staircase needed to kind of be tucked in between the existing den and garage, so that it wouldn't just pop into their kitchen, for example. So, the interior layout presented a sort of neat use of the space, or tidy use of the space, in both in terms of how to access the addition, and then also basically in terms of how to access it. And that, by putting in that 3-foot stair in that space between the den and the garage, that's what creates the need to bump further out, if that makes sense. So you can see where the stair is tucked in on the ground floor and second floor plan, and that positioning of the stairs is kind of what necessitated that bump out, while still being able to fit, a full car garage in this renovation on the ground floor, and the different bedrooms upstairs. And
if I could quickly add, Lara, yeah. Thanks. There's no room on the sides of the home either, because then we would be applying for a variance. I think Eric asked why we couldn't build to the side or the back. We're at our property line on both sides of the home also.
I'm not sure that we're at the property line on the side yards, but I think part of that is that, you know, from a structural efficiency perspective, we didn't want to add a whole foundation along the whole, you know, we didn't want to propose a design that was going to be prohibitive because of all the new foundations you would have to pour to expand into the side yards, if that makes sense. And then, or cantilever further. There's a minor cantilever that we've worked out with the structural engineer. So yeah, part of it is, you know, it's with these designs, there's just so many layers. So part of it is, yeah, structural efficiency. And then obviously to make it not so costly for the owners that it would be prohibitive. So bumping out into the front was actually, yeah, that was just, yeah, from a layout perspective, what made the most sense. I don't think I'll double check, but I think we're still within our setback on the sides, but. Does that help answer it, or is it?
Yeah, so you're using the existing foundation, is that right?
Yeah, all along the long edge. There's only a slight area at the front that, at the front right corner, or the front corner. I'm just opening up the file so I can confirm. But yes, exactly. Otherwise, if we were to extend the footprint on the side yard in the orientation that ended up making the most sense from an interior circulation and layout of you know, how to set up this additional sort of, it's really the private bedroom spaces for the parents and kids, so that you can still have a sense of a communal space on the ground floor, but that the bedroom spaces for the grandmother and the bedroom spaces for the parents and kids are a little bit separated, just because our lives, you know, have different needs and noise levels and things like that. So we try to keep them kind of in different quarters. Plus it worked out most effectively from an efficiency perspective, square footage perspective as well, to keep it contained within that bar of the existing house that's running perpendicular to the street.
It also does look like you're quite limited on the sides.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at kind of an aerial, and it shows the side yard setbacks, and there's I guess 14 feet on the side. And the setback is 10. So you would have, I think, exceeded that 4 feet. And then it's, I think you're at the 10 feet on the other side, if I'm looking at this correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking about the side where the addition was, or where the proposed addition is, but yeah, on the other side, we sort of left that just became not really a viable side to consider, just because of the circulation, the way the circulation would happen and stuff.
Do board members have any questions about what the presentation so far?
I just have a question about the lot coverage. We're speaking about a front yard setback variance. Is there any expansion in the that exceeds 30% that they're looking to construct? I mean, would that, if there is beyond what's already existing, wouldn't that constitute a variance if it was in excess of 30%?
That's correct. And that was a question at the last meeting. And since then, Lara has submitted revised numbers. She found that there were some errors in calculations before. And so the applicants have submitted a revised worksheet, a zoning conformance worksheet, and it shows that current lot coverage is 22%. After the addition, it would be 25%. So an increase of 3%, which is still under the 30% maximum. So a variance for lot coverage is not needed.
Yeah, just to expand on that briefly, is that the error that I found was in how we calculated lot coverage. And we had included the driveway and, you know, the uncovered structures and the path in that. So we had sort of included too much in that original percentage, which I think originally we thought it had already exceeded 30%. And that was an error on my part, just not catching that. And once we went back, and not catching that, but we maintained all the same, we had already on our site plan, we had listed what the actual covered area of the house was, as well as the driveway, as well as the path. And so we didn't change those numbers at all. We just took it out of the percentage calculation, if that makes sense. We just took out the driveway and the path from the percentage calculation. So those numbers stayed consistent. We didn't have to remeasure anything. We just realized, oh, well, this was an error in our percentage calculation. Does that explain it well? I'm not sure.
No,
Yeah,
I totally understand. Eric, I guess you sent that revised in one of the letters and I just didn't see it. I overlooked it.
But it's good that we go over it in the meeting as well, since it was an issue at the last meeting.
So yeah. I don't have any other questions except for the fact that, let me just ask, the houses in the neighborhood, I had driven by, I would say 50% of the homes seem to be 1 story and the other, the 50% 2 story.
Hmm.
In that cul-de-sac area. Would that be accurate, or most of them 2 story?
Seems about accurate. I think on our side of the block, they're all 2 story. There's one, well, right across the street is 2 stories, and then the construction that Tony, that's 2 stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mix. I think there's a good,
I'd say that's a fair assessment.
maybe 70-30, I'd say. I see some of our neighbors are here, and I think they're a 1-story home. And yeah, I actually think most of the other homes are 2 stories. I mean, when you go Dane and Will, George and Jane they're 2 stories.
No, they're 1
They're
story.
1 story, right? The basement. Berto and Mary Jean are 2 stories. Mary Joy is 2 stories. Tony and Maria, 2 stories.
It's a mix.
Okay, just curious. You know, it's character of the neighborhood. One of the elements we look at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a public hearing, and members of the public are welcome to speak. Is there anyone from the community here who would like to comment on the application? Okay, I guess not. I don't see any signs of anyone wanting to speak. We received no comments in writing as well. So no comments one way or the other. Any other thoughts from board members about this project?
Not for me.
I don't have any.
I don't either.
All right, it seems pretty straightforward.
So I'll move to close the public hearing, if that's where we're heading.
Right. I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. We'll end the public hearing, and board members will now review the application in the light of the 5 statutory factors. shall we start going over the 5 factors, or does anyone have any thoughts you'd like to express first?
I'm okay with that.
All right. So by law, we have to apply 5 factors to each application and see how the application measures up to these requirements. Number 1 is the question of whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties if the variance is granted. John, do you have thoughts on that?
Looking at it and looking at the neighborhood, driving around, it looked to me that, again, the homes are seemingly 50% 1-story and 2-story mix. And what this plan does is it doesn't bulk up the house in appearance from the road, since the current portion of the house will remain pretty much 1-story, and the 2 stories will be off to the side as you're facing the building from the road off to the left. And it's going to be under, 28% lot coverage. So I don't see it to be a bulk issue. I don't see it to be out of place with the surrounding community there on the cul-de-sac, the 3 feet from the road that it's going to take up into the variance 25-foot front yard setback does not appear to be out of sync with the rest of the neighborhood. I noticed some of the other houses were a lot closer to the road. Some of them seem to be closer to the road. So I don't see a detriment.
All right, thank you. Marianne?
I agree with everything that John says. And also I think because there, as I recall, there are sort of lots of very mature landscaping around the home that really, I don't know, if one were to be bothered by it, you wouldn't notice it that much because of the landscaping. So I would agree with John with that one addition.
Thank you. Laura?
I agree with John and Marianne. And also it's worth noting that there were no neighbors who spoke in opposition.
And I also agree. I see no undesirable change or detriment. The second item, the second factor, is whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. Marianne, what do you think about that?
Initially, that was my biggest question, but I think the way it was explained, it makes sense in terms of feasibility, in terms of maintaining the footprint of the house, and also because of needing to fit the stairwell in there. So I think that they're doing the best they can given those constraints or factors.
Thank you. Laura?
I agree with Marianne. So we didn't see any of the alternative designs, but it was clear that they had reviewed a lot of alternatives and thought about other possibilities and landed on this one as the most appropriate in terms of economic feasibility, the kind of programmatic needs that they had, that sort of tricky placement of the stair, and then also the limitations of the side yard setback. So for me, they fulfilled this requirement of not having alternative ways to achieve the same result.
Hey, John.
I agree with what has been said. There always can be different designs. If this turned out to be much more of a substantial encroachment to the front yard setback, I'd be a little bit more concerned, but I'm not. I think they've tried to work things out appropriately. They're not overbuilding on the property. They are encroaching to an extent, but their design sort of works well this way. And so I don't see that an alternative, figuratively could have been, there would have been a better situation.
All right, thank you. I generally agree. I think in these cases, a board like ours is somewhat constrained. We can't fully judge whether there's a feasible alternative unless we get into the nuts and bolts of the interior design and everything and become architects ourselves and practically redesign it just to see. So within that limitation, to some extent, we have to kind of go by the seat of our pants. There is space on two sides where they, in theory, could extend, but I do see the rationale, for example, of reusing the foundation. And also the deck, there's a deck in the back that would have to be partially destroyed to extend out the back. And as always, I think sustainability should be a relevant factor. It's just counter to the goal of sustainability to dig a new foundation or destroy existing features just to avoid a very minor violation of the setback. So I think there is a possibly an alternative, but it is probably not feasible. Next, whether the requested variance is substantial. Laura?
Well, it's so we're only looking at one. It's only the front yard setback, and it's 3 feet. So it's not the area the lot coverage. So I think compared to some of the other ones that we see, it's less substantial. It's not insignificant, but I would say it's I don't know what the adjective is, but less substantial than some of the others that we've seen.
John?
I agree with what Laura said. In comparison to some of the other homes on the block, which seem to be closer than 25 feet, as constructed, to me, that somewhat mitigates the extent, if there's, it's a minimally substantial variance, but compared to the neighborhood, it's not problematic to me.
Marianne?
I agree with what's been said.
Okay, I agree also. I think why would he go even farther? And I say it is not substantial when you, especially when you consider the curving nature of the property line, so that the encroachment actually drops to a very, in part of the facade, it drops to a very small amount. The fourth consideration is whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. Marianne?
I did walk around the neighborhood and take a look at all the homes, and I don't see that it will have a detrimental impact on the area.
Okay, thank you. I agree, especially when you keep in mind that all we're talking about is that encroachment, the encroachment portion, so that the part of the new structure that extends into the front yard, the few feet. So the question is really, does that sliver of the addition have a physical or environmental impact? And I don't think so, not in any way. Laura?
I agree with that. I think there's also, because the houses are a little bit further apart than in some other parts of the village, it has less of a impact in terms of airflow or sight lines or those kinds of issues that that might be more the case in a really dense area. So I don't think it does.
John?
I agree with all that. Also, this house is on a cul-de-sac, so the houses sort of slightly pull away from one another as they round the circle. In this case, because it's on a portion of the roundabout circle, I don't see any impact.
All right, thank you. So the final factor is whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. John?
Well, yeah, we usually find it self-created. I believe it is in this case. The house, the size of the house was obvious from the start. And it's built up to the extent that they need it at this point for the needs that they now find themselves presented with. So therefore, I think it's self-created because those are their needs. And that's, I can't see it any other way.
Mm-hmm.
Marianne?
I would agree it's self-created.
Laura?
I agree it's self-created.
And I agree too. Most area variances are technically considered self-created since they're voluntary changes. But that does not in itself is not in itself a strong factor in a consideration. All right, so my understanding of the comments are that all of the factors, all of the opinions of the, or rather the consensus on each point weighs in favor of the application, except for the final point, which is the one about self-creation. The other four board members all took positions that would support approval of the application. So does anyone disagree that we would create a balancing statement in favor of the application?
I would move in favor of the application, the resolution in favor of the requested variance, and on balance that the request is not particularly substantial, and the front yard variance is a single variance being sought. They do not exceed the 30% lot coverage area. It won't be an overly dense structure, even from view from the road. Won't be anything unlike what's already existing in the other properties neighboring on that cul-de-sac. And I just don't see any detriments.
All right, John has has proposed essentially a balancing statement, and he's moved that the board approve the application on the foundation of that balancing statement. Will someone second the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, I agree also. So it's unanimous vote in favor of the motion. So the board approves the application. We will write a resolution and review it at the next meeting, and then assuming we adopt it at that point, it will be immediately filed and official.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to say thank you for your consideration and thoughtfulness.
You're welcome. Thank you for submitting such a clear and complete application. It's very easy to work with. Any other questions from Jeff, Anna, or Laura about the process?
No, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda. And that is 12 Constitution Drive. And we're here for a workshop, which is not a public hearing. It's just a preliminary review of the application, and in which the board members consider whether it's complete and ready for a hearing. The applicants are here, Annette and Sal Padala. Welcome. Hello. Now this concerns a fence. You have a pool, I gather. Well, why don't you tell us what, in your words, what you're doing?
So we just installed a pool, and to secure it safely, we need to put a fence on the property. And where the fence needs to go, we're not able to put a 4-foot fence, because on the other side of it, on the neighboring property, there is a 2-foot-high knee wall. So Charlotte I had her come out and look at everything and told her what we wanted to do. And she said, we cannot put a 4-foot fence there. It has to be a 6-foot fence because of the wall that's there. It's a small area bordering the neighbor's yard. They're well aware of it. There's already a 6-foot fence on the property on the other side of the pool that was here previously of us purchasing the house. And there's many other properties along Constitution Drive that have 6-foot fences surrounding their yard. We're not looking to surround our yard with a 6-foot fence. It's one section that needs to be fenced off in order to secure the area properly.
Okay. Why did Charlotte say that a 4-foot fence would not work?
Because the 2-foot knee-high wall that was on the side of it, somebody would be able to hop the 4-foot
right.
fence.
Okay. I see. All right. So you have submitted your application. We've got a site plan, and it shows so the knee wall is it's on the neighbor's property. Is that right?
Correct.
And is it right on the property line?
The property lines on Constitution Drive are like on top of each other. So I would have to place it, how far off of on our property line, the 6-foot fence would go?
It would be 17 inches. So the property line is 17 inches off of the neighbor's garage.
Mm-hmm.
So the back of their garage, the knee wall is attached directly to the back of the garage. So it'd be 17 inches off of that is the property line. There's nothing to measure on our side because there's no structure parallel with that. So we're just going off the 17 inches off of that.
And it is a permanent structure it's a concrete wall that has been here since they built the house.
Okay, what your drawing shows that your fence would go 17 inches off the property line.
Correct.
Yeah, and the knee wall is on the property line, so your fence would be 17 inches from the knee wall.
Correct.
All right. Well, that seems to be clear from the drawing. And yeah, okay. We have your deed, your environmental assessment form, and the application form, and the referral from the building inspector. And one question is now before the hearing, you're going to need to send notices to your neighbors, the surrounding neighbors, to let them know about the hearing. On your application, you've listed 2, 11 Constitution and 14. The instructions say adjoining property owners, including those across the street. And we always interpret that broadly, so that, because you don't want someone coming later and saying we didn't know about the hearing. So I think you need to add 2 others, and that is.
So it would be 10 Constitution Drive, which is the Butlers. They're right next door to us. So then there's us, and then 14 is our neighbors. And then I did the house directly across the street.
Right. I think you should also add 13 Constitution. That's the house across the street that can kind of see between your house and 14.
Okay.
Because they'll, at least judging from the map, it looks like they have a view of your side yard, or at least partial.
Okay.
And so you want to make sure they know about this.
Now this is a letter that I'll type up and send to them?
No, I will give you, tomorrow, I will email you the form. It's an announcement that comes from the ZBA. And you'll just make copies of that, print copies, and that's what you'll mail.
Okay.
So, and you'll have to follow the instructions in the application, which say to use certified mail, and then save us the receipts showing that you mailed it. They have to be postmarked by Monday.
Okay.
So Monday of next week, in order to qualify for the next meeting. So you will mail them, address them to each party. And there's one other party that you need to, and that's the, the battery property behind you, which is, I guess, called 53 Kemble Avenue.
I don't even know who owns that property.
Yeah, you can look it up in, Jeff, the village clerk, can tell you, or you can look it up in the Putnam County database. Putnam County has online a property owner database.
You said that's 53 Kemble?
53 Kemble Avenue, and I did look it up. It's, the owner is called Kearney Property. And they seem to be, they're listed, their address of record in the Putnam County database is P.O. Box 925, Baldwin Place, New York, 10505.
So I have to mail these and send you the receipts by Monday.
Well, you don't have to get the receipts to us by Monday, but you have to mail, and the receipts have to be postmarked as of Monday, no later than Monday. And then once you get that together, you can forward to us at your convenience. You can forward the receipts.
I just want to make sure we get on the next one ASAP. That way this is a secure area.
Okay. So are you available? The next meeting is the 17th of June, Thursday the 17th. Are you available that night?
Yep.
Okay.
Eric, I'm not, I can't attend that meeting, but as long as others are there, it shouldn't be an issue.
John and Marianne, will you be able to attend on the 17th?
Yeah, I should be able to, if not remotely. I mean, like as we are doing now, but if I'm in Nantucket, I probably should be able to do it from there.
All right, well then, all we need is 3, so perhaps Heath will be there as well. Do board members have any other comments for the workshop, for the preparations?
Yeah, let's see. Should we get it's probably in this case not as necessary, but the length of the 6-foot fence, will that just mirror the length of that knee wall?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I think one of their site plans gives the length in feet. The previous one, let's see, it says 48, it looks like it says 48 feet total.
Feet. Yes.
Yeah, the previous version of the site plan, the one on graph paper, grid paper, has 48 feet total. Okay.
Does it also indicate that the wall itself is 48 feet long?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, they're shown as being the same length. See, it looks like the fence you plan will make a right turn at the end and join up with the knee wall. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, the only other piece of advice or instructions I would give you is keep in mind that the board members are volunteers who did not write the code, and we have no power to change it. The only power we have is to grant exceptions if somebody gives us a reason that is sufficient and is unique to their property. So when we have the hearing, just be prepared to tell us what unique reason you have for requesting an extra high fence. And
that knee wall is the reason why.
Okay. And we're going to ask you, so be ready to answer when we ask you whether there are other ways you could achieve your goal without having a variance,
okay.
Without needing this exception. So just be prepared to tell us why there are no other solutions that you could use.
Okay.
I have a related question. Is part of this, it's my understanding with pools that you're required to have a wall around, a fence around it. Is it required to be a certain height?
I believe it's 42 inches is the minimum height.
Well, Cold Spring law specifies 40 inches, at least 40 inches for a pool fence. The New York State Residential Code specifies 48 inches. But I think Cold Spring law prevails over state law in something like this. So the required minimum is 40 inches in this case.
Now here's a question. If there's other pools on the street that have 6-foot fences around them, this is one area that I'm looking to secure. I'm not putting a 6-foot fence around my whole entire property. How does this happen that if it's a problem? Just out of curiosity.
It's possible that they applied for variance and got one.
Okay. There's 8 other homes on the street that don't even have pools that have 6-foot fences.
Okay. Well,
I'm just curious as to why.
Yeah, I've been on the board 10 years or probably 14 years or something like that, and I can tell you that we did not approve any 6-foot fences down there.
Okay.
So the rule is 4 feet. Now, some people have just put them up, but the zoning board itself does not go out and enforce. So that's the job of the building inspector and to bring it to us. So again, it's every position within the board, within Cold Spring has its, we just review applications, or if somebody cannot establish that they got a variance or approval for that, that's the homeowner's problem, so they put it up at their own risk.
Okay.
But we need a building inspector to enforce the code. I mean, that's what we look forward to. And that's what all the community relies on, so that it's all uniform. So the fact that it's different amongst other neighbors, this board here cannot really speak to that.
Okay.
But if it came before us, we would have a say.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do this the right way and the safest way to secure the area. I have 3 kids, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have, I guess, a request. I found the picture that you sent us to be really helpful. Okay. And I just wonder if I could ask, and Eric, I'm not sure if I can ask, but a picture on the other side of your yard.
I had sent Eric another picture that has the other fence on the other side of the pool.
Oh, okay.
That was existing on the property when we purchased it 5 years ago. So I would think that was, or I had sent it to Charlotte.
I got it. Yeah, I have it. it's a photograph of the 6-foot fence. It just shows the fence itself and a little bit of the patio, but I will send that to everybody. But Annette, feel free. I mean, it's in your own, photographs are not a required part of the application, but it would serve you well to provide some more photos if you feel they support your case.
Okay.
And you know, it's up to you to decide how that might be. But the more we understand about the context and the surroundings, possibly the better decision we'll be able to make.
Okay.
So feel free to send more photos.
All right.
So I'll make a motion that we hold a public hearing on this application on Thursday, June 17th at the regular meeting, which starts at 7:30.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous, I agree, unanimous vote. Annette, tomorrow I will email you the public notice form, and that's what you will mail to your neighbors.
Okay.
And then and do that by Monday. And then you also need to post a sign in front of your property starting 10 days before the hearing.
Okay.
And you'll get that, you can get that sign from the village clerk. That's all in the instructions.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your help.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Moving right along, the next item is a review of the draft resolution about 17 Parsonage Street. I emailed that not that long ago, so you may not have had a chance to read it yet. Does everyone have a copy?
Yeah, can you tell me, just tell me what email date that came in? I read it through the day it came.
Yeah, that was earlier today, actually. It was 12:36 p.m. today.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not finding it. Do you know the title of the email?
Yeah, it's called More Documents.
Oh, the more documents for tonight's meeting?
Yeah, that's one of the there's several attachments.
Oh, okay, I see it. I think I was expecting it to be a Word document. Got it. Thank you.
I think it looks good.
I do too. I don't have any edits.
Eric, do you think, you know, as one of the reasons why we felt constrained to allow them to move forward, I'm not sure if I'm seeing it, but the fact that the lot was so narrow, it just prevented any kind of sideways expansion?
It's in there.
It
does say at the bottom of page 1, the only other side of the house with enough space for an addition is the rear.
Okay, there we go. That's
it's in the resolved as well, the narrowness of the lot.
Yeah.
It was a little bit difficult granting this, I have to say.
Yeah, could have gone the other way.
Yeah, I could have gone the other way too. I think in the end, we don't want a Cold Spring that looks like, you know, McMansion's built to the front property lines. And I think the fact that you put variable homes, I mean, most of the other homes all predated, as far as the ones very, very close to the road. There was only, you had to go down to the corner right there to the southerly corner to really find the 3 or 4 homes that were right on the property lines.
Right.
So anyway. All right, I'm fine with it. I'll move to, well, we've already done that, right?
Well, we have to adopt the resolution. So go ahead.
I'll move to adopt the resolution as written, and I thank you, Eric, for putting it together.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I agree. Unanimous vote. Last item is the minutes for the last meeting on May 20th. Jeff emailed them to us on, let's see.
Was it May 13th or May 12th?
No, it was after that.
Oh, there it is, May 17th.
Right. Well, no, it's actually May 31. Draft minutes from 5/20 meeting, May 31. Well, I'll correct Laura's last name. I think at the top, under the heading continuance of public hearing, and there were 2 variances at issue actually. So the reference to variance should be changed to plural, seeking area variances for front and side yard setbacks. And then in the next paragraph, I would add where it says that Marianne and Laura stated that they were caught up. I would expand that a little bit and say that stated that they had watched the video of that meeting and were caught up. Does that sound good to you guys? To you too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay. Otherwise, I have no revisions.
Yeah, on page 1, under the board discussed the application, which was the one on parsonage. You know, I agreed with Heath, you know, in general about his comments, but I stated that I believe the variance is granted. It'll bring the house very close to the property line, comma, unlike the other homes in the neighborhood, comma, which could be perceived as a detriment.
Okay.
Because I did express that there were no other houses that close to the property line on the majority of the street. Most of them were set back at least 10 feet.
Okay.
And it came within like a foot. So I said it came very close to the property line. And can, you know, and can be viewed as a detriment. Something along that line I had said.
Okay. How exactly do you want to phrase other homes? Do you want it to just be unlike other homes, or unlike many other homes, or most other homes?
If the variance is granted, it'll bring the house very close to the property line, comma, unlike most of the homes in the neighborhood,
okay,
which can be viewed as a detriment, you know, to the community. I want to make that, I did have that opinion. So again, you want me to repeat that?
No, I got it. I got it.
Okay.
If the variance, I'll make the variance plural. So if the variance is, well, actually, you're just talking about the front variance. So it would be if the front yard variance.
That's the one I was referencing to, yes.
Yeah, not necessarily the other one. If the front yard variance is granted, it will bring the house very close to the property line, unlike most of the homes in the neighborhood.
Comment would be viewed as a detriment.
Which can be viewed as a detriment. All right.
That's all I had.
Great.
So I move to approve the minutes as amended, unless anybody else has any other thoughts.
I second. Laura seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and unanimous vote. Jeff, I have a question for you.
Yep.
A question of general interest. Since area variances are by definition not subject to environmental review under SECRA, why do we give applicants the environmental assessment form if they're applying for area variances? Do you know anything about that? Has there ever been a rationale for that?
No, you know, they changed the SECRA laws and processes about a year and a half ago. So prior to that, we had always given it out. We still continue to do so. We could stop. I will tell you that the HDRB has stopped considering SECRA because just about everything they do is considered type 2 and doesn't need, and SECRA doesn't apply. And they have decided that they will only add SECRA in those cases where it's necessary and not consider it or require it for every application. So you might wish to do the same. It would probably make sense.
Is the, historically, the environmental assessment form, is that tied to SECRA? In other words, it was only, its only purpose was to potentially lead to the SECRA evaluation process?
Correct.
It had no other purpose?
Correct.
All right, well, it seems
And
to
John,
me
you could probably correct me if I'm wrong on that. I mean, you probably have more experience in this area than I do, but that's my understanding.
Yeah, that's been my experience, both in knowing a little bit about that law and in sitting on the board for a number of years.
Yeah.
So I think, when it comes to a workshop, we just, visit the topic very briefly, to see if this is something that needs to be, or are you thinking, Eric, perhaps not even asking the applicant to fill it out?
That's right. It's a 3-page form. It's almost all the questions are irrelevant to everything we do. And we never have a SECRA review anyway for any, the NYCRR section about the SECRA exempts all area variances from environmental review. So by definition, there will never be an environmental review for an area variance. So I
agree with you. I think, when we know that there's an area variance involved, that we can, the question is where do we write that in the instructions?
I would just, well, the applicant can't be expected to decide. So I would just take it out, take the requirement out, drop the form, and then let the board chair can, on the rare case, the rare circumstance where SECRA would be involved, the chair then can intervene and ask for it.
At the workshop?
Yes, at the workshop or before. I mean, the chair gets everything, well, all the board members get everything before the workshop, and anything that required SECRA would be so different. It would be such a different kind of application or project from what we usually see. That right. It would trigger a red flag just because it would be so different.
Yep.
Like it would be a use, like a use variance, for example, which we rarely get. So I would just say leave it at, instead of making every applicant fill out this 3-page form that is 90% gobbledygook as far as our projects are concerned, have nothing to do with it.
I agree.
So, okay. Jeff, do you have the, can you edit the instruction form that goes out just to drop the reference to the EAF?
Yes, I will edit, excuse me, I will edit it and then send it over to you just to review.
Okay.
I've read it.
All right, thank you. Any other business?
No, thank you for all you do to put this all together, Eric. Thanks. I was thinking that it would probably be wise if somehow, and I could look through different things as far as pamphlets, but to see if, an instructional book, on zoning, so that members could just turn to it and understand, something that's not too expensive, but it's fairly thorough,
The state has one.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there might be some specifics that are relevant to Cold Spring, but I found that state one helpful when I started.
Yeah.
Did you find
it's very well written. It's part of the James Coons series of state publications that are meant to educate citizens in various aspects of law. It's about 40 pages long. It covers everything. It's written very well. The language is very precise and adheres to the law. So it's a good primer for anyone starting out. And there's actually 2 of them. There's one addressed to board members. It's like 40 pages long, and another one addressed to the public, like what you need to know if you're going before a ZBA, and that's like 20 pages long. It's shorter, and they're both they're both, I think they're really reliable. I've constantly referred to the longer one.
And this is the author, James Kuhn?
Yeah, it's, you want me to email it to you, John? The PDF?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Email it to the board, just so you know, even if Laura has it or others.
No, I'd like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think I already gave Laura and Marianne the links to it when they joined the board. So.
Then I know what you're talking about. I don't know that I made it all the way through it.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say, I don't know if I thought it was that helpful or something.
No, I don't think I got all the way through it.
It probably also, there's like a first round when everything is new. And then you look at it, I should look at it again. Like now that I have a little bit more of a sense of thing, then you look at it again and things pop out more.
I thought I'd refer back to it as things came up, but now you're reminding me it's there. So that's a good reminder. Thank you.
The applicant's version is on the website.
It's on the website, right?
The applicant's version, yes.
Right. Okay.
On the Cold Spring website?
On the ZBA page of the village website, yeah.
And I believe, fellow board members, there's also a requirement where we actually attend certain CLE classes, a certain number of them a year. I attend ones, in the law, because we have legal, continuing legal education there. So I usually do the zoning in that regard. But I guess, Eric, we should also maybe, or if I see any zoning CLEs that are available, let the board know. I'll let you know, and you can inform the board, perhaps.
Yeah, well, send them to us all. I would love to find out about. I don't hear very often about relevant seminars. It would be great to know about more of them. John is right. There is a requirement under state law that ZBA members have a certain number of hours of training every year. However, and it's up to the municipality whether and how to enforce that requirement. So Cold Spring has never had a black and white enforcement of that requirement. And the state law notes in particular that no decision of a ZBA can be overturned because it was found that board members failed to meet this requirement. But the problem, John, is most of these seminars that I hear about are pretty far-fetched. Like they're really, they don't seem like they would be directly relevant to what we do. I would love it, like a seminar on recent cases, like recent developments in case law that directly affected everyday bread and butter zoning questions. That would be a real valuable thing.
Gotcha. I got you. So yeah, I'll try to track some of that down. I don't want to make the board members do anything extra either. It just make their lives a little easier, or if whatever helps, them to see what appropriate answers would be in given circumstances. Like everything is fact specific, as we say. So I'll just keep an eye out and let you know. But I think those booklets that you referenced to should be a great start. And the last thing I was going to mention real quick is that a lot of this can also be found online. I mean, in a sense that when we've had issues that have been a little bit unusual for us, I've often gone in and looked at other codes and then gone in and seen what courts had done with regards to those, but online you can just type, most of the codes are throughout all villages and counties and, cities. They're fairly similar. They're really fairly similar. So you're going to find those issues coming up there, and you see how they resolve them.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, enough said. I know everybody wants to go home, so.
All right. If there's no other business, I move that we close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Eric.
Everybody have a good night. Take
Thanks,
care.
Good night, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.